What up, YouTube? Topaz Jace back for another album review, and this one is to that Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. But before we jump into this album review, first I gotta offer you context. First I gotta let you know exactly how I feel about this album leading up to it, so that you know how I feel while listening to it. But if you feel as though you know everything there is to know about Kendrick Lamar, feel free to fast forward to this point here. But who is Kendrick Lamar? The perceived best rapper of this generation, or at least top two, as on this project he's going through the unwritten rule. In order to be considered as the greatest to do it, you must release a double album that's considered a classic, as we've seen with Biggie, Life After Death, or Tupac, All Eyes on Me. But yet there has been a bunch of other failures from people that you deem as some of the best, like Jay-Z, The Blueprint 2, Gift and the Coast. That wasn't amazing. Or Andre 3000, he was part of the double CD, Speaker Box and The Love Below. Even though it went diamond, that wasn't amazing either. But this is Kendrick Lamar's attempt to separate himself from the competition to remain consistently at that #1 spot. But let me go ahead and answer some frequently asked comments that I'm sure are going to come. First comment, man, you got to give this album some time, man. How are you just now releasing this review this soon? Bruh, I didn't have to eat Paula Patton's half-cooked chicken to realize that it was trash. Now, you're not going to get a super in-depth lyrical review tonight on this one, and I may come back to do one of those later. What you're going to get today is a analytical breakdown of the individual songs. Yes, I do reserve the right to change my opinion on it as time passes, but looking at how I'm still standing on the fact I didn't like To Pimp a Butterfly, odds are like in the 25th percentile that I'll probably remain the same, because I listen to this way more than you think I do. Next statement, I never liked Kendrick ever. This is a lie. I've always considered Kendrick Lamar as top 2, even through all of my negative reviews. Like, y'all tend to just bypass all the positive things that I've talked about him over the years, like how he's elevated the feature game through Control, how it seemed as though he went out of his way to slaughter every single legend that the game had to offer in a brief summer span, how much I love Section 80. I show my love and respect for Kendrick by speaking my truth about his projects, and with him being one of the best, you got to put all of the weight on the ball and then demand him to lift it, because that's what you should be expecting. Last statement, you just don't understand, man. Like in the artwork, the sheets being half off the bed, that symbolizes that he hasn't fully fallen off. Like, bruh, go ahead with that prison babble. Not trying to hear none of that, because you don't be knowing what you talking about. But what I am expecting coming into this, man, is greatness. Because when you look at everything building up to this, like Section 80, one of my favorite projects off the gate, man. Hold Up, ADHD, Blow My High Power. Lot of really great stuff, even though it was his least selling project to date. Good Kid, Mad City has some solid stuff. To Pimp a Butterfly, still don't like that project, but I acknowledge that it changed the landscape of music for the better. Much respect to it, just not for me. Damn, 2017 was cool, 3 times platinum. Sold more than To Pimp a Butterfly for all you people that said you were still listening to it. Clearly you wasn't. But now that he's going out on his own, standing on his own, trying to put forth something to perceive himself as the best all time to do it, on top of the Hard Part 5 that really struck a chord within society in such a brief amount of time, I think expecting greatness isn't that much of a thing to ask for from the best that's considered out here in the game. And now I give you the album review of Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. And overall, I'm impressed. Now, I do think this would be better as a single disc rather than trying to make it into a double, because it definitely runs out of steam in the middle leading up to about the ending. But I like how every Kendrick Lamar album has its own sound, including this one, as the leak implied that, you know, this would be a more family-centric project, and that was a well-placed source, because that's exactly what you're getting off of this. What we are getting is complex lyricism, dynamic production that is truly unique, deep concepts, and messaging, man. Everything that one would hope for out of this. And the best part is you get a solid selection of tracks that's worth keeping. But let's go ahead and break down these tracks, especially my favorites. Starting with the United in Grief. Here he's showing different ways that broken people deal with pain. rappers and people with money just blow it on things that they never use. How he's talking about, I got a Rolex that I only wore once. Infinity pools that he never swam in, which was cool because they go on forever, but you never used them not once. Got all of this just so that he can get a big tax bill. How others go ahead and get a psychologist and get into the medication loop that they constantly getting more psychiatrists, more medication, and never really break away from that. And others just go ahead and get women to express their pain with and just sleep with as many as they can. In 95, I perceive this as a statement on where society is currently, as it's symbolized with the split between the people and the mass debate, pretty much, when you just think about the N95 mass. But he starts off like, okay, just strip away everything from people, from wealth to the status online and offline, the gang identity, the police identity, the expensive items that they get, asking what exactly are you without all of this? And the vast majority of people, they're nothing. Recognizing that the world is all jumping off bad, from the financial stock market to men and women just in general. As the third verse, he ends it from the point of view of two dynamics. One that's paid, and that paid person got all the problems that come along with being paid, like people suing them, to taxation, to a bunch of other problems. And the other is analyzing what all would you do in order to get to that point where you'll have these problems of being sued and getting taxed and things of that nature. Would you sell out your own people? Would you sell your own soul to get the credit to be able to do that? Overall, I love the energy. I love what he's saying there, man. That was a pretty dope track. My next favorite song is that Rich Spirit, which that is the urge to be wealthy in song form. As the first verse, he's pretty much talking about typical things that normal fathers do regardless of if you're rich or not, like dropping his daughter off at school and worrying about her because all the other children that's within that school are broken individuals that is going to leave an effect on his daughter. The second verse is speaking about the rich spirit, but in a literal sense, as he's the aloof Buddha, Christ with the shooter, stating how the rich spirit isn't online with all the flexing for women that gets you locked up in the fads, but also the issues of being sued by family for having this rich spirit. And the third verse, he's using the spirit medium, and it's no coincidence that he makes it sound like it's a white man who is this spirit, as it's giving the most logical advice on what to do in life, saying things like, yo, the entourage is dead. You're better off staying away from the online timelines. The goal is to live 200 lives. We Cried Together was a solid track, man, where this was a straightforward one about a toxic relationship argument that's like pretty much just going through, and the ending of it, no spoilers, definitely enjoyed it though. The only thing I really didn't like is how Taylor Page is getting her clear inspiration from Eminem, but I think it works. My next favorite song is that Purple Hearts. I love the production here. Feel as though this is the best song off the entire project. It's a love song showing what all he let go in order to maintain this relationship, where he's avoiding IG, where people will judge your entire life just for 2 clicks of a like, avoiding rappers that he can't even trust what their true intent is, all the chicks that's out here that's getting ran through. And I do feel as though this is perfect for Ghostface, who, if you watch the TV show, his true love is the RZA's sister. You should definitely be peeping that, but awesome track here. My next favorite song is that Count Me Out, as this is the endless burning desire to be great and the regrets that he has for having it, thinking that work and success would ultimately fulfill him, but at this point he's recognizing that it left him empty. Mother I Sober was pretty cool. Like, I like the concept and how everything evolved with it. It just took a little bit too long for it to get there, and this was a deep one here, as he's going through the traumas that are part of the cycle of destruction that families live in, as he was the one to break through this cycle for his family. And my last favorite song would be Mirror, which was the last song, as this is a solid joint about a breakup. Now, people are perceiving this as him breaking up with TDE, and I can see it as a metaphor. He's choosing himself rather than to carry the load of the relationship. Hey, TDE really needed Kendrick Lamar, man, way more than one album in the last 5 years, as he gave the exact amount of days that it took him to actually come up with this project. And we know that it's a metaphor because he's referencing his woman on this, so he's not specifically talking to a woman. I think that's cold, but it does make sense given the fact that we're not seeing a lot of promotion from TDE for this project, you dig? My issues with this album is, did you really need Kodak Black that much? Like, you can get that same energy, that same ignorant energy from a better caliber of artists like, say, a Vince Staples. My next issue is some of the experimental tracks really just didn't pan out like that Worldwide Steppers that had that rave-like bass, and it just wore on me as time went on without very much switching up. The song Father Time could have been a cool introspective track, but the twist that he applied to it with the effects to that production order, it made it a bit more noteworthy than just having it simple and plain, but not necessarily in a good way, and having that Post Malone-like hook really didn't work either. Auntie Diaries, talking about an LGBT cousin and how the family reacts and speaks to him, drawing comparison to racism, which was done in a artistic means, but yet I honestly get enough of that watching TV shows. But overall, I liked it. Not the classic that I was hoping for, but clearly his best work since Section 80. I love the complexity of it. I'm keeping 8 out of 16 tracks as of this moment. Like, some of those may go away. I think it can compete for Best Album of the Year, but I do like Big Crit's Digital Roses Don't Die better at this moment. But we'll see how things evolve as this year goes on. I give it an 8 out of 10, a must listen for 2022.